You're listening to the Loving Your Own Soul podcast, and I'm your host, Britt Olson. Guided by my own intuition, my intention is to deliver genuine conversations centered around health and wellness, spirituality, self-expression, and culture. In this space, I will provide you with real-life stories, theories, and inspiring perspectives to help you uncover and tap into your own true potential. I'm so grateful you've chosen to tune in with me on this mindful exploration to living a more fluid life through a deeper connection to the soul. Now let's dive into today's journey. Hello. So today on the podcast, we have a very special soul, Leah Pardee, who is an alignment mentor and host of the Bare Naked Soul podcast. Leah's mission is to help you shed self-doubt and overthinking in order to tune into your true, authentic confidence. And I tell you, this conversation is exactly that. Leah walks us through her own personal journey that I know so many of us can relate to, whether it be in our careers or our personal lives. We talk all about the powers of alignment and shifting your reality, feeling our emotions, going through the human experience. We chat all about the beautiful powers of breathwork and all that this simple yet powerful tool can really do for us and can truly transform our life. We even touch on manifestation, which I know that is a topic so many of us love to just chat about and be reminded of. So, such a fun conversation. I cannot wait for you to tune into Leah's energy if you're not already familiar with her. And within this episode, we also talk all about her breath portal, which is just a space, again, we'll get into the details of it, but is basically a platform and a portal with a whole variety of guided breathwork sessions. She actually has some really exciting workshops and different styles of breathwork that she will be uploading here in the next few weeks and months as we go along. There's guided meditations, and it's just such a beautiful space that she has set up. I know for myself, I was really craving and kind of calling in something like the breath portal, even though I didn't know specifically that this existed or what it is. And it has just really been such a prime tool for me with processing my emotions, feeling my feelings, and just, continuing to just get that gunk out of our life and just be able to really more fully enjoy this human experience, but then also move through all the experiences that we're hit with, because that's life. So in this episode, we will get more into what exactly the breath portal is. But once again, if you do follow the link in the show notes, you can actually get a 7-day free trial. So you can meet me inside the breath portal, check it out for yourself. And then if you want to continue on further, there is just a monthly membership fee. But I tell you, this is a tool that you want to have in your toolbox, and Leah has made it so accessible and so affordable. So I highly recommend continuing on through this episode so that way, number one, you can learn more and better understand breathwork if you're not already familiar. But then also go down to the show notes and check out that 7-day free trial. You truly can't go wrong as you're taking this step for you and you're doing it for yourself. And that is truly one of the best things that we can really give ourselves, is respecting ourselves and wanting to really better our lives, better ourselves, get to know our souls on a deeper level and all the things. So anyway, before I go off on my own little tangent there, let's go ahead and jump into today's episode with Leah Pardee. Enjoy, and I will see you on the other side. All right. Well, Leah, I'm so excited to just connect with you on the podcast and get to know you and your journey a little bit better today. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I'm super excited to chat with you more and dive into all this.
Awesome. So let's see, I know you've got a whole bunch of things going on within yourself, which is awesome. I definitely relate to that as well. But I know you're a coach, you're a breathwork facilitator, a podcast host. I believe the name of it is Bare Naked Soul, if that's right. Such a good name, by the way. I love that. You also have a retreat coming up, which is so exciting, and just like so many incredible ways of just, I don't know, providing these necessary tools and ways of alignment and potential transformation for individuals and all these things. But I would love to know, just to kind of paint the foundation of who you are. How did you step into this work? What's the backstory? Was this always a vision that you held for yourself?
Yeah. Oh gosh, I feel like I never know exactly where to start with this part of things. There's a couple different ways that the story kind of unfolds that lead to where I am now, but I went to college, did the whole corporate thing, was really it's kind of funny. I was just telling someone this the other day. If you know me, you probably see me as like a very ambitious woman, like a very, an achiever type of person. But in high school and college, I was like the opposite. Like I was just like derailed from any type of alignment with my, values, and was just being crazy. And I had I didn't have goals. I didn't know if I was going to graduate from college, but I did. And then after college, I became super, super achievement oriented, even though I didn't grow up that way. So it's interesting, but I took a turn into really masculine energy, super focused on goals, climb the ladder as quick as I can, no matter what. I was reading all the books on how to climb the ladder. I was doing all the things at work. I was burning myself out. I thought that was the way. And it did lead to, I was working in sales. I was a corporate sales manager. I was doing all these things, got the promotions, should have been happy with everything that I had. I thought I had everything I wanted, right? But it was never satisfying because I was so attached to the next thing. And so I was like getting an MBA after work hours, all of it. And I really, the biggest shift for me, it's always kind of funny because I feel like this is so often, like I've heard this a lot, but I was reading the books on mindset, on creating your own reality from strictly a mindset and psychological perspective. And I stumbled upon the book, The Secret, which opened me up to the spiritual world. I was a Christian. I had no idea about energy. I had no idea this whole world existed. Kind of blew my mind. So I started exploring that, started meditating, started journaling, slowly started to release anxiety and learn how to work through my own emotions. But then I discovered coaching, became a certified life coach, started my business, thinking this was more soul aligned for me. And then I got swept right back into the masculine goals achieving energy. So now I have this business. This was between getting ready to quit my job and after I quit my corporate job as well, just so focused on big success as quickly as possible. Kind of get swept up in seeing all these people with like all these followers and all these features and all these things, not knowing that for many of them, certainly not all, but for many of them, it's they're purchasing these things, right? It's an illusion. But when you don't know that, it can feel very much like, why am I not there yet? So I was really swept up in all of that. And then luckily, I think the only logical thing I could do, I think I got to a point of being burnout and being so attached to the outcome that I then learned how to surrender, because it was all I could do. I had to surrender. I had quit my job at this point and was fully in my business. And yeah, I stepped into a journey of letting go of those outcomes, of surrendering to how I feel. And that led me to just a lot of mindfulness. And that's what led me to breathwork. Breathwork was a powerful part of that experience too. And I found it was such a great tool for learning how to feel our emotions. Because I often do refer to emotions as negative. Like I say, like negative emotions, yeah. But they're all just part of the human experience. And so feeling them is how we release them. And that was such a big part of my journey in surrender, was learning to feel my emotions, to let them go. And then once I was able to really incorporate those things, it was kind of funny because, don't you know, then everything started to fall into place. Then the manifestation principles I had been teaching but not fully embodying, or it didn't feel like it was fully working, then it started to work because I was coming from a place of surrender. I was detached from the outcomes. So yeah, that's kind of the long and short of my journey to where I am now. Yeah, so now I do mentorship, coaching, if you want to call it, whatever it's called. I feel like I'm always changing my own title. I do breath work, I do different courses, I host retreats. I also used to like box myself in. I had this idea that we have to be really focused on one thing. And then, especially like being in my business, I felt like, well, I need a niche and it has to be really tight. People need to know exactly what I sell or whatever. And now I'm just letting myself do whatever I want. So if I want to teach on something, I launch something about it. If I want to do something, I do it. It's really different than how I felt when I was trying to follow all the rules. So, yeah,
Yes.
that's pretty much where I am now.
I love that. What a journey. I relate to so many different pieces of that. One thing that I just want to ask you, how has that been with not following the rules and not focusing on a particular niche and everything like that? Because I myself, I've felt just recently, personally, with my own business, very much like wanting to throw all the rules out the window, like completely rebelling against them. And I personally have actually seen a pretty quick return, which has been interesting, but it's kind of the opposite of what we're taught. So I would love to know just how has that shift been for you?
Yeah, so it's funny because I only recently learned this like kind of frame of reference. It's like we're taught from such a young age, through the school system, rules and logic, and if you just follow the rules and do these things, you'll be good, right? You'll be safe, you'll be accepted, all the things. We take a kid who's like 3 or 4 or 5 and we start to ingrain this logical perspective, which is great. It's more the masculine side. If you do enough, if you just keep producing enough, you'll be good. But we completely take away the intuitive nature of the child. We strip them of that. We emotions are just gone. They're no good, right? We don't learn how to like hone in on intuitive gifts that we have. So yeah, it's very normal to go through like what I was doing in the corporate world was like follow all the rules, do all the things. Then in my business, follow all the rules, do all the things. And then at some point we realize it, for one, it doesn't feel good. And when we start to tap into our more feminine side, our intuition, our power from that place, we realize we're really hurting ourselves by following all the rules, because following a rule just because it's how someone else did something or how we think we should, that takes away from us doing what feels good inside. So it's really, really been powerful for me to hone in on what am I excited about, and that's part of letting go of the niche thing. And it's like, what am I excited about right now? That's what's gonna sell. That's what I'm meant to teach. That's where the transformations are gonna come in. So for me, it's like fully honing in on what feels good inside of me, tapping into like my higher self, seeing what I would am guided to do, and taking that route, even though there's a voice in my head saying, are you sure that's going to work? Is that what so and so is doing? Right? So yeah, I think it's been everything though. It's been so huge to finally step into that. And I'm seeing major shifts. I'm teaching this to my clients and they're having major shifts. It's just everything changes when you truly allow yourself to move from that guided place.
So beautiful. I would love to know, what tools or practices do you work with to kind of tame that voice inside your head that tries to kind of derail you away from the intuition or causes you to then question, like, am I doing the right thing or not?
Yeah, so meditation's been huge for that because it's just training you to let go of thoughts and let go of the mind and go within the body. And it can be so, challenging for people, and it can be so daunting to sit with your thoughts. But even just 3 or 5 minutes a day of meditation, you're just spending a few minutes just practicing letting go of your thoughts or observing your thoughts without attaching to them. That's a big part of what we need to do in our entrepreneurial journeys, in our relationship journeys, in any journey we have with anything, because we're going to have, our mind is, for one, programmed for alerting us of danger. So it's very fear-based, it's very negative, and it's circles and loops and repetitive. So while we're trying to move forward in one direction, we have our mind trying to pull us back to comfort, giving us fear, giving us negative, ideas and worst case scenarios. at some point we have to be able to acknowledge those thoughts and observe them, but we don't have to like buy into them. And it's so powerful when you can have a thought come through and you can just laugh it off, or you can just say, okay, like that was a thought. Thoughts are going to be there. They're not my truth. My truth is what I feel inside of me, and my truth is what feels good and exciting and expansive. But I think it's important to remember, like, we're gonna have those thoughts. Like, they're going to be there no matter what. Especially when we're stepping out of the comfort zone, doing something new. Definitely they're gonna be there. So yeah, just this past, what was it, like a week or two ago, I was like, oh, I had booked a flight to Sedona, but I never booked a flight home. Wasn't exactly sure what my plans were. So I was deciding whether or not to commit to staying like 4 extra nights after the retreat and doing my own solo thing, and then booking a flight home after. And my mind just kept saying, oh, well, like, you're gonna miss your husband. That's 10 nights away. Like, oh, it might be so uncomfortable being there alone. Like, you're gonna be lonely. You're already working from home every day. You're sometimes feeling lonely working from home by yourself all day. Why do you want to, right? And so these thoughts were coming in. Are you sure you should be spending money on that? Will that make it so you can't go on a trip this winter, right? Like, all these thoughts. And I had to sit with myself and just say, okay, let me feel inside of my body. What does it feel like to be in Sedona for those 4 nights and spend that time alone and picture myself, kind of what I'd be doing, what I'd be feeling. And it felt so expansive inside my body. Like, it felt so exciting. It was like, yeah, there's going to be fear. It's my first solo trip. It's my first time doing that. I just went to Mexico in July. Like, I travel a lot. So, like, yes, I'm spending a lot of money traveling, right? There's going to be fears that come up. There's going to be negative thoughts that come up around it. Your mind just wants to keep you in that comfort zone. So part of like leaning on the intuition and living from that place and saying, fuck the rules and the shoulds, is tuning into what feels expansive and making that decision no matter what the mind says.
I love that. What a just beautiful example of showcasing the reality of like what we go through with the mind, but then the way the body can really show us that truth that exists inside of us and what's for us. I love that. While we are on the topic of your retreat, and then I definitely want to circle back to breath work and feeling those emotions and all of that you experienced for the first time and then have continued through your work. But as we're talking about your retreat in Sedona, I would love to know, have you hosted retreats before? Is this something you feel like you manifested for yourself? Where did all of this come from and this dream and vision that you are bringing to life?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy thinking about where was that a year ago, 2 years ago. Like, this seems like a dream. I think it was, I mean, I've always wanted to host retreats, but I think it always felt like a faraway thing kind of situation, especially during the pandemic or 2020. So yeah, I mean, I would say like December of last year, January, I planned my first retreat, which took place in April. I took a group of my current and past clients. Like, I knew all of these people. I selectively like invited them to the Poconos in Pennsylvania, the mountains. Did a retreat there, which was amazing. And then this was my first one that I opened up to the public. And yeah, I think it comes from a calling to do some things in person, especially breathwork in person. I think it's so powerful. I think the energy of when we're around someone who acts as an expander for us, we're in the energy of someone that is at the next level, is a mentor to us, embodies the things we're learning. When we're in that person's energy, there's big shifts to be made, and it's so worthwhile. That to me is the biggest takeaway from retreats, or my biggest intention for retreats. And it's the same with coaching, with your clients. It's like you act as an expander for them. Just being in your energy is such a big part of the transformation. Of course, you're teaching things too and helping them work through things, but yeah, I'm a big believer in like the people we spend our time around are the people we become. I think when we don't surround ourselves with examples of who we want to be, it can be very difficult to learn to embody that. So that's kind of my biggest vision, is just having spaces where people can come together and be with like-minded women who are growth oriented and like looking for that next level and like ready to expand, not just in like making money and goals, but like feeling good, being playful, like having fun, and learning to take the negative emotions, and we're air quoting negative emotions that come in, anxiety, worry, fear, taking those and actually processing them through our body so we can release them and then go back into play. So that's kind of like the vision I have.
Cool. Oh my gosh, so beautiful. I cannot wait to just hear how this experience was for you and everyone who attends. That's amazing. So, to that point, let's talk about breath work and really working with our emotions, feeling our emotions, everything like that. But before we do so, if anyone is new to the term breath work or isn't quite sure what it is specifically, what is it? And maybe what are some of the tangible benefits, I'll call them?
Yeah, so breathwork has been around for thousands of years. It's been alongside of yoga for much of that time, right? Kind of came from similar roots, but it's basically a process of it's an active meditation where you are moving the breath through the body and therefore moving energies through the body as well. So I think there's a couple different ways to look at it because it does have health benefits. It does involve releasing toxins from the body and strengthening the lungs and strengthening the respiratory system and the immune system and things like that. That's a whole side of it. But in turn, like what I primarily use breath work for myself and teach it for is processing and shifting out of emotions. So it's really powerful. We emotions are energies in motion in our body when we go through trauma, and trauma could be anything from being in a war to that time when you were rejected and it really stung and you had fight or flight instincts kick in your body and you didn't know what to do with it, so it just sat there, or you ate a big meal afterwards or vented about it to people but never truly processed it, or grabbed a glass of wine or turned on Netflix, right? We experience that fight or flight feeling a lot through just our daily experience of life. Turn on the news and you might experience it, right? But we don't process it, so we don't let it go. Those emotions, we avoid them so heavily in our culture. So those emotions, those energies in motion remain stuck in our body. They're in there. And this is where people get triggered so often. You know how there's like that phrase you just aren't supposed to say in front of dad because he could go off the rails, right? It's like a trigger. And like I have triggers, we all have them, right? Yep. Those things people could bring up that just like ignite something within us. And breathwork acts to move that through the body, move those in and out. So it's interesting because in a breathwork experience, you often will feel sadness come up, tears come up, maybe tears, but you don't feel the sadness. Sometimes it's laughter. Did you ever like, maybe like I've had this happen where someone tells me something like really fucked up and I laugh.
Yes.
What am I doing? I'm not a terrible person, but it's just a way we move emotions. It could be, right? So it's just like, sometimes anger will come up. Sometimes we'll be like shaking a little bit, involuntary body motions, which is a natural instinct that we have to shake off those fight or flights. So as we're moving through and doing the breath work, we experience these things. We experience ourselves actually feeling these emotions that have been trapped and therefore releasing them. Then they can leave our body, which is so powerful. And that's my primary reason for teaching breath work. Sometimes people have other experiences, sometimes they'll have like memories that come up, just different things. It's always different. It's really interesting. It's always a different experience for everyone. But yeah, it's hard to really say this, but I feel like if I could teach the world one thing, it might be how to process our emotions so they leave our body. Because then we have the freedom to not get triggered all the time. We feel lighter. It like lightens your load energetically. And from that lightened place, then we can tap into our power, our intuition, our intuitive guidance, and happiness and play without being weighed down by like, it's almost like a background anxiety that we have through life. And this is one way to help really deeply shed that.
What a relatable phrase. I've never put that together, but a background anxiety that we carry throughout our life. That is so relatable. I think it's interesting. I never really made the connection, but for myself, if I hear like sad news, sometimes that instinct is like hysterical laughter at first and I want to laugh. And I mean, even still, I honestly haven't really thought about this in a while, but I always was like, what is wrong with me? Like, why is my first instinct? I would almost like judge myself because I was like, is there like, do I have something mentally wrong with me compared to just understanding, oh, that's, a response to how my body processes emotions. So
Yeah,
interesting.
that's just one other thing. It didn't really, I never thought about it either until last week. I was with a friend and I said something sad and like she laughed and this is someone who I feel is like very much in integrity with their values and isn't just some like monster, right? And I recognize that I do that too, of course. And it wasn't until I remember I when that happened, I thought about breathwork and I thought, yeah, it's funny because sometimes breathwork it's not always like crying and like you remember like bad things. A lot of it is laughter. A lot of the time when I do breathwork, I'm like laughing and like wiggling around and it feels like very expansive. And afterwards, I feel like elated. But I still release something heavily through laughter. It's just one way we can be clearing energy from our body.
Yes. I think it's interesting with breath work too. You can probably speak to this better than I can, but it almost feels like as things are starting to move, like the juice, it's churning, like, okay, we're getting like the momentum's going, is then when it's almost this feeling of like wanting to resist it. And it's trying to keep yourself in it. Like sometimes like the energy surge through your body is so much. And I know for me, I have to really focus on just being really present and just saying, nope, like don't stop, don't resist it. And then it's like when you move through it, then it's like all the magic truly takes place. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, yeah. Like that's a huge thing is the resistance. And people have this with meditation, people have this with going to the gym, right? We experience resistance when we're going to be doing something that we know is a little uncomfortable, when sitting on the couch would feel better but especially with I've never experienced resistance as bad as I do with breath work. Like because of that, because I think we know deep inside how powerful this is and how this is going to shift us. So our mind is like, okay, maybe we don't have time to finish this breathwork video. Let's just kind of stop now. Like seriously, it's like a huge thing. I experience it too. And yeah, pushing through resistance is such a learning tool in itself, because you feel great afterwards. And you're like, why was I resisting this?
It's so true. It's always looking back in hindsight and it's like you have to capture the energy of the after effect to continue on through the work and everything like that. Well, as we're talking about breath work, and I'm excited to kind of understand a little bit more of your own journey as it pertains to really surrendering and feeling those emotions and everything. But first, I just want to speak to you've created the Breath Portal, which I think is just such a cool platform we'll have a link in the show notes of this episode for everyone. They can sign up for a 7-day free trial, and then it's a monthly membership where you're supporting us through different forms of breath work. And I know there's some live classes and guided meditations and things like that. What was your intention behind really establishing this portal for everyone?
Yeah, well, good timing because it was resistance. It was experiencing my own resistance to breath work / meditation, right? And breathwork's a really great way to learn meditation because it really shuts down the overthinking part of the mind, the default mode network, so you can slide into a meditation much easier. But I experienced so much resistance to that. It took me a long time to establish, well, I guess that's not really true. With meditation, I kind of disciplined myself into a practice where I did it most days. With breathwork, I still found it so challenging because of all the resistance. So I wanted to make a membership where people have some accountability. I also I have to go to a yoga studio because to go on YouTube and find a video and do it on my own, I'm not going to do that. I almost need to pay for it and be held accountable to it and decide and commit to it. So I think that was the foundation of the breath portal. It's you commit to joining this membership and then you say, okay, I'm going to do this 2-3 times a week. And then you have it all right there. You have different videos for different things, anxiety, if you want to feel happiness, intuitive guidance, confidence, whatever you want to feel or experience. There's different breath work for each thing. Yeah, because I think it's powerful to do breath work, once a month or here and there. Sure, you might experience a big shift from that, but to implement it into your regular life and do it a few times a week, at least like once or twice a week, I mean, that's how you're really going to go from being in your emotions, where it's like the ups and downs, the anxiety, the self-doubt, the fear, all the human emotions becoming you, versus them being experiences you move through in a few minutes because you've learned how. And then you can go back to feeling good. That is the purpose for me of like doing breath work every week, is processing out my negative emotions so they don't stay with me.
Yeah. I would imagine too. I mean, just even thinking of like where we are in real time, all of us collectively have so much, I think so much more than we're really aware of to really process and just move through from the last year and a half as well for what we've just been through. I mean, again, I don't think that we're fully understanding or consciously understanding all that we've been through here in our present reality either.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's so easy right now, more than possibly ever in a long time, is to be really swept up in it, and to be in this anger at people, and this feeling of all the things that we know are being experienced through the news and all the things. And yeah, it's very easy to live life in an angry place right now, in a fearful place. I don't think we're meant to live life that way. That's detrimental to our health and our immune system. Yeah. So yeah, we've got to start as a society learning how to let go of those things. Actually fucking let go of these emotions. And not let go in a way of like spiritual bypassing, but let go in a way where we actually fully process them. Because once you start to like notice, once you start to feel your feelings in order to free them and move through that, it starts to become where you get swept up in an emotion, something quote bad happens, and you feel all these things. But you start to know, okay, well, this is something I can move through. So like I said, like I refer to negative emotions, anxiety, fear, self-doubt. I call them that. But it's like they're just part of the human experience. And when we learn how to move through them quickly and process them fully, they are just part of the experience. Because we know we're not going to become like swept up in them. We don't have to become them. Just like we know that our thoughts aren't facts. We're not our thoughts. We're not our emotions either. We're the one observing our emotions. And that makes for a really powerful shift.
Oh, so powerful. I mean, I get goosebumps as you were talking. So powerful. And to me, it just always felt like such a breath of fresh air, and being able to understand that, oh, wow, this emotion that I've been carrying with me, this uncomfortable feeling, the anxiety or anger, whatever it is, suddenly like I don't have to be defined by it, and it doesn't have to be me. And then being able to move through it so much faster than you ever knew possible. It's like, where was this my entire life? Like, it's truly just such an incredible tool. I love it so much. As it pertains to breathwork, I'd love to hear from you. How quickly do we start seeing these shifts and transformations in our own life?
Oh, such a good question. I think it's different for everybody. Everyone's going to come into it with a different level of energies that are stuck in their body, traumas they've experienced, their own understanding of emotions. Like, for example, when I first came into the spiritual world, I was very, 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 very much a victim. I lived from a victim place. Someone else got something, oh, I had to be upset because I couldn't have it. There's only a finite amount of it to go around, right? Woe is me. Everything's been harder for me. Like, and it's not to say like, I don't want people to feel like shamed for feeling that way. I felt like that very much. So coming from that place, that was a whole thing to move through, right? So it just depends on where people are at. And also it depends on your level of commitment to this. And the more that we come from that place of victimhood, we come from that place of, oh, everything is hard, this is going to be so hard, it's harder for me than for other people, the more we feel that way, the harder it is to commit to the stuff. Right. So that's a really great place to start is dismantling some of those beliefs. But yeah, it really depends where people are at and how willing they are to commit to this. Like, I know like the term flow, like what people describe as flow or expansion. For me, I call it the vibe. And the vibe is like what makes you magnetic for your desires with manifestation. And I say like, how committed are you to the vibe? How committed are you to living your life this way? When I was still in the corporate world, I would shut my door to my office and meditate for 2 minutes after like a shitty meeting or my boss or whatever. Throughout the day, sometimes I had like a really stressful job, but I also had a really stressful perspective on life. Everything was stressful. So you don't have to you can do this wherever, whenever. You can implement these practices into your life. It doesn't always have to be like a 40-minute breath work experience. It could be you learn some things in that class and you take them throughout your life and you're learning just to breathe more fully and consciously. I think it's your level of how committed am I to healing? How willing am I to make healing my goal, my whole goal, versus the outcomes that we feel we can get from healing, right? So yeah, I think it's really different for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the just commitment around it, just that phrase. And I mean, kudos to you too, because that also takes a lot of commitment and dedication, commitment to yourself to in that crazy corporate world, like know that you're going to benefit by taking those 2 minutes of meditation or however many times you can get them throughout the day, because it can also be tough too, as we kind of get stuck. I know myself for sure of like, these are things I've had to work through, but past me of like, oh, but what are people going to think of me? Are people going to judge me if I'm the, in air quotes, the weirdo meditating during my lunch break compared to like, but it's really, just their own not understanding of it. And what I think is so cool too is just even the different like breath sequences, like you mentioned, it may not be a 40-minute breath work session, or what can you take from that and then pull that back into your daily life. Like sometimes for me, it's, utilizing that 3-part breath whenever I need to. If, I don't have the time, we can always find the time, but, throughout your day to really return back to and spend 2 minutes in that place can just shift things entirely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think there's a whole nother commitment that we have to make or we can choose to make where we are going to be a little different than a lot of people that we know. We are going to be experiencing life differently. For me, for a long time there, when I first started meditating, like I would be in a bathroom stall by myself. Like I didn't, you know what I mean? Like you could do it and not tell people. But now I feel like being where I'm at with my journey now, my thing is like, okay, well I've gotten to this place where I'm like so freaking happy and I just feel so good and like I'm going big in my, career and that makes me maybe unrelatable to people I'm around. Am I allowed to be my fully expressed self around people? Am I allowed to be so happy when everyone else is complaining, right? So there's gonna be, it's like new levels, new devils with it, but with the whole journey comes letting go of what people think as much and learning to just when you're aligned with your truth and aligned with what feels good, that those things start to melt away.
It's so true, 100%. And I mean, metaphorically, like they literally melt away. It's so
Yeah.
cool. You mentioned manifestation earlier and, our vibe and all that breath work creates for us. I would love to go into maybe just a little more detail as to, I know you play a lot with manifestation and work with understanding manifestation with your clients and things. How, maybe a little more specifically, does breath work, or have you seen breath work and manifestation kind of intertwine together in your life?
Yeah, I love that. Manifestation, I feel like some people will have heard this said this way many times, but I feel like we need to hear it many times and we always need to hear it again. But it's like we manifest what we already are. We manifest when sometimes I feel like something that often happens is like, but if I'm so grateful for where I'm at, am I open for more? And it's like finding this place of love and gratitude for exactly where you're at and being open for more and having a vision where you're you're just so in love with life that like you have a vision and you're working towards it and you have certainty, but it doesn't define you and you don't have to be attached to the outcomes. So it is like this delicate balance, but I think remembering that we manifest what we already are, that is, we have to just keep going back to that. You're going to get more of the way you feel right now, and that doesn't mean that it's you're gonna get backtracked if you have a shitty day or you have some negative emotions. No, it's the underlying beliefs, it's the dominant vibration that you live in. But I think why it ties in with breathwork, or how I've seen it tie with breathwork, is that breathwork is such a powerful tool for letting go of the overthinking and coming into your truth and your body. And your body is the one that's going to give you the little intuitive next steps that are going to lead you to where you need to be. So when we're trying to manifest something, but we're in our head, it goes back to that logic and those rules. Well, if I think about this problem enough, I can control the outcome. If I worry enough, I can control the future. If I keep thinking and thinking and thinking, I'll come up with the right answer for this. But really, when we let go of the mind, come into the body, and let go of some of that fear and doubt and worry that is our overthinking, then we can come from a place of, okay, I'm going to be how I want to feel. I'm going to feel how I want to be or whatever. And then I'm going to take the next intuitive step that comes to me versus overthinking it. And we'll get an intuitive download of like something to do, or we'll get an idea that excites us as our next step. But we'll talk ourselves out of it by using logic and rules and the shoulds that we've been taught our whole life to problem solve with. So moving into your body is such a big part of manifestation, and breathwork is a great tool for doing that.
I love that. So important. So important for me to hear. Again, it's those things like you said at the beginning, just hearing them over and over again. It just, yeah, it really hits home and you can feel it physically. Well, this has been such a fun conversation. I would love to know, for those listening, where can people find you and connect with you and learn more from you?
Yeah, so my website is leahpardee.com. My Instagram is it's Leah Pardee. And those are the two places I'm most active. Bare Naked Soul is my podcast. And you can, if you find one of those, or just type Leah Pardee in anywhere on the internet, you'll find something I've created.
So fun. I love your podcast, by the way. You also, your episodes they're so timely. They feel like they're just easy to listen to. You get to the point. You have so many good takeaways from them. I love it. And definitely for those listening, like, come join the Breath Portal. Would love to see everyone in there. It's such a cool platform that you set up.
Thank you. Yeah, and people can just like hop on the 7-day free trial, test it out, give breathwork a try, see what you think, and then go from there with moving forward or not. So
yeah, it's so worth it. Well, Leah, before we close out, I love to end all my episodes with some loving your own soul questions, as I call them, just so everyone can get to know you a little bit deeper, a little more kind of on the spot, rapid fire style.
Oh no.
First question, do you know astrologically your sun, moon, and rising sign?
Oh, so I'm a Gemini.
Cool.
I do have them written down somewhere because someone said them to me at one point or found them for me. But yeah, I'm like not a big astrology person. I would like to dive more into it though.
Cool. Are you familiar with human design? Do you know your human design type?
Yeah, I'm a 3-5 generator.
Cool. I'm a generator myself. I was feeling that you might be a generator. That's cool. Are you familiar with that 3 line, kind of that like great experimenter?
No, I don't know really. That's all I've been told is I'm a 3-5 generator. I know like the generator, a lot about that. I just feel like there's so much to know with human design, but I am.
Oh my gosh. Yes, same. I would love to just spend I was going to say hours, really like months probably on a couch, like fully diving into all things human design, astrology, like such cool tools for just getting to know yourself on a deeper level.
Absolutely. No, I do remember now the experimental, like I have to try something, even if someone tells me like exactly what it is, like I want to try it for myself.
Yes. Do you feel like that's reflective to who you are in your life?
Yeah, I definitely.
Cool. Going back to childhood or that little inner child inside of you, what was something that you loved to do as a child?
Playing outside, nature. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was my life as a kid.
Mm, I love that. If you were a flower, what type of flower do you think you would be?
Oh man, maybe a sunflower.
Ooh, I love that. Sunflowers are so beautiful. They just have such a great energy. What is one thing that you are most curious about right now?
Ooh, what am I curious about right now? I mean, I'm very curious about manifestation. I'm very curious about human design. What am I like learning right now? I mean, a lot of times I'm learning energetics, manifestation. Again, I feel like it's something where you almost have to keep learning it, keep honing in on it to be able to like really implement it into your life. So that's what I've been probably the most focused on learning lately.
Yeah, I feel that. What is something you're most grateful for right now?
Being able to work from home as my own boss and the freedom that comes from that, especially because I've been traveling so much. It's just been, yeah, I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, such a gift. Where are some of the places you've been? Well, maybe either some of the places you've been recently or a favorite place that you've traveled to.
Yeah, so I went to Mexico in July and I was obsessed. I was in love. I love an all-inclusive resort. I mean, it's like has such a luxury feeling to it. And then the freedom and then lack of thinking, just everything's just there. You just walk around and eat all the food and do whatever you want. I also went to Utah in May. I went to Zion National Park, and that was my
Mm.
first time like doing an American like out west like hiking vacation. My husband and his friend planned it. I was kind of like Utah, but it was amazing. And Bryce National Park we went to as well, which was incredible. And yeah, the Red Rocks, and I really liked it there.
Cool. Just out of my own personal curiosity, in Zion, did you camp? Did you do hotels, Airbnbs? Where did you stay around there?
So there was four of us. We had an Airbnb.
Cool.
And then we rented a big van. So we kind of, not like a van you could sleep in though, but we kind of traveled around to different places with that. So yeah, it was really cool.
Mm, so fun. Zion, we were talking earlier how Sedona has been calling both of us. Zion is another place that feels very much in my near future. So that's
Really
cool.
awesome.
Awesome. If you don't mind sharing, we were talking about manifestation kind of throughout the episode. What is one thing you are just calling into your life right now?
Well, I've been calling in some things really interestingly where I'm like open to it and then it appears, you know? So I've become really open to the idea of doing some in person things, other than my retreats, but, you know, in person ways of teaching, especially breath work. And yeah, so then I had a lady reach out to me from a Facebook group last week and she wants me to come to her yoga studio in my city and host a breathwork in-person workshop, and it just came together. And I'm just like, yeah, these are the type of opportunities I'm calling in. I want to do these kind of things. I want to meet some other entrepreneurs in real life that live in Pittsburgh that I can really relate to. Yeah, I'm definitely calling in those type of experiences right now.
Cool. I love that so much. Final question that everyone gets. When did your exploration to diving deeper into your own soul first begin? And how has it evolved since then?
So it began almost exactly 3 years ago, I would say, is when I started exploring manifestation, law of attraction, into like inner guidance, all of that. And what was the second part? How has it been? What was
How has it evolved since
how has
then?
it evolved? I think it evolved from looking to others for guidance and looking for the next kind of secret or looking for the next thing. I still listen to podcasts and read books all the time, but I think I was very much looking for external teachings, whereas now I'm going inward. Like, yes, I'm reading books and observing mentors and learning from people, but I'm going inward to make all my decisions. Everything, even like, well, not every single time I eat a meal, but a lot of times, like, what do I feel in my body like I would like to eat right now? just using my body and my intuition as a guide for everything, and knowing that it's all within me. I don't need to look outwards, although it's fun and I learn more and I learn some tools, but it's all ultimately within me.
Beautiful. Mic drop for sure. Well, Leah, this was so fun. Thank you so much just for sharing so openly with us and teaching us and, just better guiding us through the powers of breathwork and this energetic work. It's just such an exciting time that we're in. I love it so much. So thank you for coming on here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Brig. Your energy's amazing. And who knows, maybe when I'm in Florida next, we will meet up.
Yes, we could host a retreat together. All right. Wow. What a great episode. I just love Leah. She has so many beautiful things to say. I am just so grateful for her and just getting to share space in her energy. Once again, if you haven't yet, follow that link in the show notes. Go check out the Breath Portal, grab that 7-day free trial. And also let us know too. Let me know what sessions you're doing, what you're going to be attending, if you'll be at any of the new upcoming live workshops that she's hosting. I would love to see you there. And as always, last but not least, if you feel inspired and equally enjoyed today's conversation, I would be so honored to have you rate and review the show. Your ratings and reviews, they mean so much to me, so much to our wonderful guests. And in return, they really do truly help to grow the show and continue bringing on more incredible guests like Leah. So also, do not forget to drop in on Instagram. Let me know what you're enjoying about the show, the Breath Portal, if you have any guest or topic recommendations, or even if you just want to say hi. I love connecting with all of you. You can find me at the Britt Olson, and I would also love to invite you to join our private Modern Wellness Community Facebook group. We have so many fun conversations and just little teachings and all kind of fun things going on in there. So definitely shoot me a message. I can hit you up, link you together with our special community even closer. And of course, thank you again for tuning in, being a part of this community. Thank you, Leah, for holding space with us. And I just so look forward to continuing the journey with you again soon.